Hi, everyone. We are live on Facebook. Welcome to this week's weekly Empowered Consent Conversations. Yay, we made it again, another week. I am Christina McCabe, and I am alkalizing and facilitating this new culture of empowered consent. And I am joined by this week's gorgeous guest experts, Drewsilla Tomasi, Gigi Harris, and Ephraim Mallery. And I am so delighted to be sharing this conversation and space with you beautiful beings. Today we are gathered to talk about empowered consent and gender identity, and I'm going to invite them to introduce themselves in just a moment. But first, I want to give you a bit more information about why we are here and how we are going to flow today. These empowered consent conversations are where we are gathering every single week to bring you a topic to explore and get you the tools to create empowered consent in all of your relationships, not just intimately, but in all areas of your life as a practice in a way that gets you heard, understood, and fulfilled. We are exploring consent with a focus on it being exciting, healing, inspiring, an avenue for deeper intimacy and connection, and quite honestly, super, super sexy. Take a look at the description above and you will find everyone's contact information, a link to my website for information on past and future consent forums, the YouTube link to watch past forum replays, subscribe if you want to be notified when they come out, and you will find our forum guidelines. Please take a moment to read through those. They're simple, but they really create a nice container for us. You're going to see a link to my upcoming appearance at the virtual intimacy retreat and my new course, Speak Desire, and I'll get you more information on each of those at the end of our conversation in what I like to offer to all of you called the Resource Roundtable. Well, each of us will take a moment to let you know what we are up to and how you can work with us. Be sure to stick around for that if you would like. Also, we love you to be involved here, so please feel free to ask questions, send us some hearts, some likes, some thumbs up, give us some comments in the chat, and I will monitor them to make sure that you get heard if I am able to. Your voices are precious and we love to hear them. All right, let's get everyone introduced. Are you all ready? Yay! Who would like to go and tell everyone who you are and why you're here? Gina, I can't hear you.
I know. I was saying, go, Scylla, go.
Oh.
I'll go. So my name is Gina Garris, and most people call me Gigi, just two little G's together. And I'm a gender queer woman, and I love to say I'm queer. I am curvy. I have herpes, and I have immense amounts of pleasure in my life, and I want that for all the humans who want that for themselves. Shame is my game. I love sacred shame, and that is the work in the world that I do. And it is a pleasure to be here and an honor to be here today on this forum.
I am so happy that you're here. Again, Gigi, you were here past, gosh, was it June, May? Last year. Yeah, check out the YouTube link. We might have some clips of Gigi back then. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I'm Ephraim. I go by all pronouns, and I am all about making love with life on a deep, rich, orgasmic level with absolutely everything in existence. And I just love the hugeness of possibility and our capacity to experience emotion, so much emotion all at the same time.
Yum! With that amazing introduction, thank you for being here. I'm really excited to get your voice heard here as well, Ephraim.
I'm so happy to be here.
And Ephraim will be reading one of, Ephraim, did you mention your pronouns?
I did. I go by all pronouns.
Okay.
And I truly love going by all pronouns. I've played with it and played around with it, and there's this people would ask me my pronouns, and I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck they are right now. And so, like, being in that place of fluidity is just delicious to me.
Mhm.
The poem I'm going to read, the poem I'm going to read will come from my book. It's called Making Love with This, and you'll get that at the end.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I was going to mention Ephraim is going to be reading one of their poems at the end of the forum instead of me reading one to close. So I'm really excited to hear that. Drusilla.
That me. Yeah, hey y'all. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Drewsilla. A lot of people just call me Scylla, and that's beautiful. I always say you can call me Scylla if you want to. My pronouns include, I lean most towards she or they, but I also am pretty pronoun inclusive, and to that point, even often invite people into a fun little mind game of like using a different pronoun for me every time you refer to me. I think that's just really fun and kind of juicy. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here. I know myself to be a lot of things. I am a gender expansive gothic alien witch from the future, which is right now, and so that means I'm here to really remind people of who they really are and how to create their own rules. I think a lot about relationships. I am a relationship, sex, and intimacy coach, among other things. And I'm always thinking about relationships to other people, to myself, my relationship to my gender identity, right? Or my sexual identity, my racial identity, right? So I'm really, really excited to dig in and talk about consent and our relationship to gender identity and play around a little bit with y'all today.
I'm so excited to dig into that with you as well. Thank you for joining us on this conversation today.
My pleasure.
What a joy to be here with all of you and all of you watching. If you're just joining, we are talking about empowered consent and gender identity. And if you've been watching my past empowered consent conversations, you know we always start by asking, what is empowered consent? So I would love for each of you, if you don't mind, because it's all consensual around these parts, letting the viewers know what is empowered consent to each of you.
Today, empowered consent to me really stems from the heart of choice. So me having choice, you having choice. Consent to me is an always. It's not a just when someone is touching me or I'm touching someone else. It is an always. Please make no assumptions. Let's ask. So empowered consent to me is a curiosity into, well, all of it, being curious and asking for permission, even asking for permission to be curious in some circumstances. So it's a very, to me, it's a very sacred space of choice.
Sacred space of choice. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll echo some of that. Empowered consent, right? Like my mind wants to break that down even and just like empower consent, right? So like consent when I'm fully in my power. So what comes to me now is this idea of connecting with people who feel safe enough and considerate enough to give me the time and space that I may need to make sure that I am fully in my power before answering yes, no, maybe, I need more information, right? It's so much of my consent practices are really involved with checking in with myself. Am I living in my power, in the power of my choice, to echo some of what Gigi was just saying? I feel like there's a lot more I could say, but that feels complete for now.
I would love to thank you, first of all. I would love to just underline where you said others giving you the time and space to make sure. I love that. Because we often talk about what is it for me? Where do I need to be to give empowered consent? But it feels so important to me that where I am as well is in a place of presence and awareness that I can hold space for others to be in that place also. It's not just about me, it's about both of us being empowered to give mutual consent. Yum. So Ah.
I love how that leads into what I want to say about this. And it is the feeling of yes, the feeling of mutual yes. And something that Gigi and I have been playing with lately is the feeling of holy yes. WHOLLY. Or LY, because holy and holy both fit. And that resonance of yes that rises out of the body. And just like, we're so infatuated with fuck yes, and, don't do it unless it's a fuck yes. And what level of yes am I in? And am I feeling from the person or the people that I'm with? And what level of yes am I with myself? And all of that seems to have so much to do with proceeding in any action. Do I feel yes?
Yeah, because like our mind can be a yes, our heart can be a yes, but our body could be a no. So for me in our practice, it really is the wholeness. It's like coming from the wholeness of my being, my energetic yes, my physical yes, my spiritual yes, my mental yes, all, like it's the wholeness of it.
Yeah.
And if one of those are out of whack, I'm truly not a yes. And the other parts of me are like, no, I am really. So it could be a fun little chaotic thing. So Scylla, I love what you were talking about. Oh my gosh, space. Space often is the thing that I feel robs us of our true yes, because of the rush or the pressure to need to answer. So space to me is so vital when it comes to our yes.
Thank you. That whole embodied yes, when you can feel it in your body. Yeah. I want to put out there too that I'm celebrating today. If y'all are watching, every week I also define empowered consent. So you have a lot of different forums of me telling you what it means to me, and it's evolving and changing. And I like how it can be fluid, and yet I'm really putting into place the practice of the full, empowered, celebrated fuck no also. Yeah, it feels so good to me to have no be as equally delicious as yes. And maybe that's because I need that for healing from my past of not feeling that I could say no always. So now when I'm celebrated saying no, and when I can put aside whatever desires I was asking for, right, my wants, and someone says no to me and I can just celebrate them for being empowered in their answer, yum. So I'm celebrating the empowered no as well. I just want to presence that. Yummy. All right.
Yes to the no.
Yes to the no.
Yay! And to be asking for more information, right?
Yeah.
All of it.
Yes, which on this topic, so important.
Yes. And that said, I want to let all of you, I see all of you jumping on, and I just love everybody joining in and giving us some love. We are exploring empowered consent and gender identity. And David is with us and said, thank you for talking about body no, Gigi, just experiences with a partner I otherwise deeply cared for, but it is my body's truth. Yeah, body, embodied feelings. Helen is watching. Heather, fuck yeah to the fuck no. All right, everybody. Thanks for engaging. So we're talking about empowered consent. What do we need to say about what does gender identity mean before we put the two of those together for those that are watching?
I can jump in there. I've actually been thinking about that a lot. I mean, for the last several decades, but also today, leading up to. Actually, I'm facilitating a workshop at VIR next weekend entitled "Gender is a Playground," and I might share a little bit more about that later. But just been really considering, like, okay, so what is gender, right? And really just feeling into the idea and the reality that gender is just it's a social construct, right? It's an idea, and it is something that is it's a deeply felt sense of self. It's a deeply felt sense of identity, right? We are all assigned a gender based on, several different sex characteristics, usually really only just one or two, but more on that later as well. And so what is gender, right? It's a deeply felt sense of self. And it's a way to show up and navigate and express yourself, navigating this world.
Gorgeously put, thank you. Gigi and Ephraim, do you have anything to add, or do you want to put anything in there with that?
Yeah, like my gender is no one else's business. I mean, my internal sense of self is wholeheartedly my choice. It's a time where it's all about me and don't matter what you think.
Ephraim, and you don't have to answer. I'm just asking if you have something you'd like to say.
Thank you. It's I feel like it's basically been said. I love what Gigi said about it's no one else's business. And I love that we get to express it also. That gender is our playground, as Scylla said. And it's just like, we get to play with it and appear or not appear however we choose in this expression of this wild myth that perpetuates our culture, gender. If it's a myth, then we can do anything.
Thank you. So then if we're talking, you have something else?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and all that said, safety is not always allowed for that. Yeah. And so as me and my privilege of cis passing and all the things, that's not something, it's easy for me to be like, it's none of your business. I'm going to be who I am. And that is not always the case. And it's not that easy. When I say it is no one's business, the truth for me is it is no one's business. And that doesn't mean that's the way in which I get to express or live in this world because of social constructs. And so I just want to make sure and make clear that, yes, it's our choice. And not everyone gets to express the way in which I have so much freedom to be able to, or choose to.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So then for those that are watching that are not that sure about languaging, what does cis passing mean?
Great, thanks. So cisgendered means I agree with what's on my birth certificate.
Mhm.
So if I was assigned female at birth, that means cis means I agree with that.
Mhm.
And trans means I don't agree with that.
Mm.
So I am something other than that,
Mm.
or identify as something as other than that.
Thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, it's actually Latin. I'm pretty sure, like cis, it means same as, trans means across from or different from, right? So cisgender, I identify with the same gender as was assigned to me at birth. Transgender, I identify across from or different from the gender that was assigned to me at birth.
Mm. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And then we also do have people that are identifying gender fluid,
Mhm.
right? Or gender neutral,
Mhm.
right? They are moving back and forth, they're in between, or identify fully as all one day and something different another, that really use play at gender as a playground. Does
Mhm.
that sound right as well?
Mhm.
Yeah. So then when we're talking about gender identity, and I understand and agree that it's no one else's fucking business unless you choose to share that, right?
Mhm.
But we're also talking about empowered consent. So,
Mhm.
how do we talk about empowered consent and gender identity? What do you want our viewers to know about approaching empowered consent when it comes to gender identity? This is for whoever feels like they want to jump in whenever they're ready.
Yeah. Thank you. I immediately what came to me is just this idea or the practice of not making any assumptions, right? One of my favorite questions, or whenever I meet a new person, more often than not, I'll presence my own gender pronouns. You know, hey, it's nice to meet you. I want to let you know some pronouns you can use for me include they, them, or she, her. And then I follow that up with, what pronouns might I use for you, if any? Right? And like that, if any, has become really important to me because some people, they don't really have a gender pronoun that really fits for them. And I know some people who use it pronouns. I know some people who only want to be referred to by their proper pronoun, by their name.
Mhm.
So I try my best to ask what someone else wants from me to help them feel most seen, heard, and respected.
Mm.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I really liked where you approached it initially with these are my pronouns, right? And then offered what are yours, if any. I love that addition of if any because it offers that ability for the person that you're talking to either give one or say, right, I don't identify with any of them, or I'm not even paying attention. Doesn't even matter.
Mhm.
Any and all of the above.
Mhm.
Gina and Ephraim, what's important for people to know about creating empowered consent when it comes to gender identity?
I mean, the first thing that came to me is, can y'all just be nice?
So
Can we be nice? Can we be nice humans? That's like the first thing that dropped in. Can we just be sweet to each other? There is a level of that though, of acceptance, right? Like our brains automatically go to the putting people in boxes because of the way they're dressed or that what they look like, or all like that's just an automatic thing. And so the practice is I mean, really what Scylla says is don't make any assumptions. Don't make any assumptions. Please don't put me in a box. That practice in of itself is really challenging. But past that, it's, can you accept me as I am? There's a level of just, you don't have to like me. I'm human. Can you be decent? And yeah. So
Yeah,
There's a be nice. There's a be nice and just accept, even if it's like a difference of in belief or something like that. Can there just be an acceptance of like, oh, wow. Yeah. Curiosity and acceptance to me is as a new fun thing that I'm asking people to do is, you know, could you lean in and just be like, oh my gosh, you're on a first date with someone and there's so much excitement about who is this human, you know, who is this human in front of me? That to me feels super precious.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
For those of all of you watching, just be nice.
Just be nice. Can you just be nice?
Underline that. Just be nice. Let's just start there.
Yeah.
And we'll go in with the assume nothing.
Right.
Y'all see me. I don't like being put in a box. Don't put me in a box.
Yeah.
Exactly. For some reason, I'm having a hard time with the word accept. Accept to me implies there's something wrong with almost. It's something you have to accept because it's other than, I don't know. Can I give you an example? And maybe it doesn't sound right. So I'm a bigger woman. I always have been. I go bigger and smaller. And I've definitely been flirted with by people who have been like, don't worry, baby, I don't discriminate. I'm like, are you implying I'm something that should be discriminated against? Is that what you're saying here? Like, right? So accept sounds similar to me to that. How does that feel for you all? Does it sound similar or no?
Well, if I think we're talking, yeah, I mean, for me, just real quick, I feel like I love that question. I'm like, woof, disrupt me right now, right here on camera. Okay. I feel like when we're talking about consent and gender, I know, I love you. This is your favorite. This is your favorite. I feel like the space of when it comes to consent, yeah, I don't know. I need to ponder. I need a breath. I'm going to take this one.
Play with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll think on it too, because the word that feels better to me, or not better, but that aligns a little or resonates more for me is not coming to me. So I'll also just play with it and we'll see where we go with that.
For me, accept, like I can get the feel of the version of, yeah, you gotta fucking accept this. And it's like, you know, swallowing the bitter pill. And if the pill's bitter and you're going to swallow it, then you might as well accept that you're doing it rather than resist it all the way down and then trying to choke it back up. So on one level, it's sort of like, to me, acceptance in its deepest space is, this fucking sucks. I recognize it as sucking. And all right, this sucks.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Got it. This sucks.
It like brings neutrality. For me, acceptance is like, okay, yep, that happened. I'm accepting it. So it allows for me to be here in a space of neutrality if I'm able to accept it. I may not like it. I might have my own opinions about it, but I can accept right now, right, that Scylla has kitty ears, right? Well, I love this. Yeah.
So can I say something quickly? It just feels really important to me to say
Please.
this. If I can quickly. If for some reason, all of you out there, because we're talking about gender, we're talking about identity, people's identities, right? If for some reason someone's identifying in a way that feels like a bitter pill to you, it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with you. Okay? And you accepting it is about you dealing with your own limitations in perspective and perception. And those are the things that need to shift and change if you want your world to expand in a loving manner for all, as compared to the other people needing to change to match what you need them to be to accept them. Just felt like I wanted that to be said.
Thank you so much for saying that, Christina, because like that's what came to my mind is like just the reality that, yeah, there are a lot of people who don't accept my identity, right? Who are willfully ignorant about my existence, right? Like, that's why, I mean, I've said for years, my leaving my house feels like a political act, right? Like, I mean, that's just real. And so, to your point, I've said to a number of people over the years, especially since I've come out as like genderqueer and kind of, transgender variant, it's like, you don't have to understand it. You don't have to love it. You don't have to agree with it. But I will strongly encourage you to accept it and respect it.
Respect.
Period.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Ethan, I didn't think you were saying that. I just wanted our viewers to hear it. Okay. And for all of those watching too, I just want to preface one thing really quickly also. We're not only talking about consent when it comes to sexual relationships, I've said that, and no one's wrong. Nothing's wrong. No one's broken. Everything's okay. We're exploring with curiosity. If things are coming up that don't feel comfortable, that's something that's open to exploration. So if what we're talking about doesn't feel comfortable, you need more help with that, reach out to somebody here. Maybe we can help you. But I want to just bring that loving, kind, be nice energy to the whole conversation for everybody feeling. We're feeling it, I know, with each other, but everyone viewing too, because some of these do feel like edgy subjects for people out there. Does that feel okay? Okay. Anything else we want to say to our viewers about that feels really important? I mean, we're going to keep diving in, but just to underline this question of that they should know about empowered consent and gender identity.
The thing about not making any assumptions, particularly when around gender is so like woven into our world, our society, our language, everything. And when you take that out, even just a little bit, and you question that about the human in front of you, automatically, I believe, you start to see that human as more them. Because you've taken out a piece of a mythology that's surrounding them. And you get to dive in past that, past something that's so intrinsic and say, who are you? And just asking someone's pronouns is so deep. Who are you? And I think it's lovely. And it can be playful because we're all going to fuck it up a billion times. And if we can approach it also like as something as serious as who are you? And oh my gosh, this is such a fun game. Playground, right? And there can be this beautiful mix of nice and play and really deep homage to a human or the humans in front of you.
Yum.
I think this is true just generally speaking, but especially as it pertains to gender identity or sexual identity or whatever, is asking questions is an excellent way to communicate.
Go figure.
Yeah. So how do we ask questions without putting a heavy emotional load on somebody? How do we ask consent to ask questions? We see this in race questions as well, right? White people asking Black people or people of color, BIPOC people, to educate them about what it means to be Black in America, right? So there's a line here. There's some consent that needs to be created in that questioning. What do y'all think that looks like when it comes to gender identity?
I love the question. Can I ask you about that? Can I ask you more about that? Just straight up. Or can you tell me what that means to you?
I think also just time and place right? Like, I always kind of paint this image of like when I'm at the grocery store, it's super inappropriate for a random person to ask me about my genitals. Like, it's none of your damn business, you know? But like in this sort of setting, right? And that this is where I always talk about, or I mentioned to y'all before we logged on the live even, like operate in this sort of container, right? A part of creating this sort of container and like educational environment is operating on this assumption of ignorance, right? This understanding that we're all a little ignorant about something and that that's okay. Asking questions is a powerful way for us to connect, and we can learn from each other and teach each other. But like, you know, when I'm just trying to get my damn, oat milk and get home, like, leave me alone, like, or pay me, like legitimately hand me a 20 and ask your inappropriate question. Like,
those of you watching out there, don't assume that's what you should do, by the way.
yeah,
Walk up and think you can like hand someone a 5 or a 20 and they should educate you, okay?
Actually, I think that's like fun practice.
yeah.
Just
Let's try that more.
made it real clear for everybody, just to be sure.
Hope that happens now. And I love what Ephraim was just saying about asking someone like, hey, can I ask you more about that? Right? Getting someone's consent before just assuming that they're here to educate you.
Yeah.
Does it feel like too that what we were talking about in the beginning, I think it was you, Scylla, who mentioned the space and time to make sure the other person has the availability to give empowered consent. So if you're asking somebody, maybe somebody who, I want to say obviously, but that's making an assumption, y'all don't do that, but somebody that looks like they may be transgender, gender neutral, gender fluid, a gender other than cis, right? In a room full of, obviously, or again, we're assuming cisgendered people, to very loudly to educate the entire room without having asked permission ahead of time, you might not be giving them this a safe-ish space to be able to say yes or no without feeling like they might have negative reactions for that, right? If I'm in a room full of white people, there's one black person, all of a sudden I very loudly declare and start asking them questions about how to be not to be racist. That's not giving them a safe space and room to comfortably, safely say no. It might feel very threatening, right? That could be the case. So make sure that you're not asking in a manner that could feel threatening or does not offer enough space for the other person to give empowered consent. What do you think about that? That's something people need to be aware of?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. And if that human is empowered in their consent, it's a great opportunity for their voice to be heard in a place where potentially that voice would never be heard. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a fine line. I always say, once you've met a human, you've met a human. I mean, that's it. And so we can't answer that question. None of these questions can be answered. You know, time and space and human and trust and who are you and do you feel trustworthy and are you open and why are you asking? Are you being nosy or do you genuinely care? But so many things around, am I trying to be educated or am I educating or am I just, poking? So there's so many different ways in which questions can be asked, which to me goes back to probably being in your body and being nice. Because if someone's coming to like with a genuine heart of like, I'm curious, that energy is felt as opposed to, I don't get you. I don't get you. Can you tell me what's going on? They're
different. Yeah.
They're so different. I mean, it is tender. There's no one way. Like we can't tell you all there's one way because even interacting with Scylla and interacting with Ephraim, two very different humans. They both said, oh, any of the pronouns, in a way, right? I like to play with all of them. Two very different humans means two very different things to two humans who are right here willing to share their story. Their stories are very different. And I think that's something that by asking, we want to try and create another box so our brain can figure it out. If I can figure out Scylla, I'm going to be able to figure out more humans in the world. I mean, and yes, and because there's really no way to figure any of us out, truthfully. But when I can get to know Scylla as a human and be like, oh my gosh, wow. I mean, Scylla is my favorite walking political statement in the world right now. I mean, whoa. I mean, that just is so much tenderness and cherishing there. And that doesn't mean that if someone else looks like Scylla, they're the same human, because they're not.
Thank you for that perspective.
Yeah, that feels really powerful. And the question itself too. And I so appreciate your response, Gigi. And I really want to underline just that idea of, that it's almost impossible for us to answer in this space. And to that point, like what just came to me is, I am an educator. I am a gregarious people person. Like I have a degree in gender and women's studies. I am a gender fluid queer human. Like I love talking about this shit. But not every trans person I know wants to talk about their gender identity everywhere they go. Right. And so to your point, just because I am more than happy to be a poster child, not the poster child, but a poster child, doesn't mean every trans person is able or willing or, so yeah, just there's so many variables.
Thank you.
Which is why education and these conversations are so powerful, because so many people might have curiosity, but don't want to ask, don't want to offend, don't want to, hurt someone's feelings. And so, Christina, thank you for having these kinds of conversations, because the more we can talk about it and be seen, the more that people might be more disruptive to think a little bit more like, whoa, I don't understand. Like Gigi and Ephraim, they look like, normal humans. And so why are they on this? What does that mean to be gender queer? And why is Ephraim using all kinds of pronouns? Because she can.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
We get to cuss on here too, viewers, by the way, so you know. I want to say, if it feels good, and that all felt really good. Thank you, everybody, for playing with me with that. I know a lot of people get really, I hear or talk to a lot of people that maybe a little bit in the more mainstream kind of mentality that feel like it's a lot of work, or that, and feel like it's a lot of work to always try to be so careful about how they talk to everybody, right? And so I want to say, when I talk about being, when we're talking about empowered consent and asking for consent and giving people the space that to make sure that they have the room to decide what empowered consent looks like for them, it's being considerate. I like to be considerate versus careful, right? Careful feels a little bit more icky, like walking on eggshells, but we can all be nice. We can all be considerate. So even if I have a desire or a need to want to know something from somebody, I might just take a minute and make sure that I'm being considerate in the moment of not only my wants and desires for information or support, but also the other person's, to as much as I possibly can, because we can never make those assumptions for what another person might need, right? There's some we can give space to make sure that we're being considerate of others. How does that feel?
what's going through my mind is what is it that you want from the communication?
Mm.
It might feel hard, and I get it because it feels hard to me sometimes. And it felt harder before I expanded into being gender fluid. And yes, I see that. I see that fear. And do we really want to connect?
Mm.
This is about connection.
Mhm.
So it's almost like in that beginning spot where Gigi was demonstrating, the ways to approach someone, there's real curiosity and there's, I don't get you. Come to it from this space of curiosity, a little bit of love, a little bit of play. Let's go back to that again because I seem to really like that theme. And and be bold. And be okay with fucking it up. And in that place of love, it's not going to be seen. There's so much, it's so different when you're coming from that place of love. When you mess it up, when you ask the question, when you are trying to engage with someone that you might be worried that you will insult them. And of course, there might be the moment that person is having a bad day and they're just like, get the fuck away from me. That's not about you necessarily. I don't know if there was anything that I said there really, but there it was.
I think it's connection. And when it comes down to is I've never really met anyone who doesn't have a desire deep, deep down to be seen just in who they are, for who they are. And that's to me what this is about. This is about, can you just see me?
I think consider it as a good bridge.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, if you can move from maybe being a little nervous about it to being considerate about it, you've already opened to another place where your mind can move towards that play, curiosity, and love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you can go to caring and curious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go even further into love than careful.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Careful, considerate, caring. Drewsilla, I see your eyes up there. I see you.
I know.
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on, Scylla?
Come on over there.
I'm hearing everything that y'all are saying and like, yeah. And all that I really would add to it is I so hear what your expression or experience of like careful as kind of feeling a little like icky or like walking on eggshells. 100% feel that. And when I hear the word careful, again, I break it down. Careful. Like, why aren't we living full of care?
Yeah.
Right?
I
So
like the phrasing.
maybe that's a good place to be. Yeah, be careful. Be full of care. Be thoughtful, be mindful, be heartful, be full, like, and I love, what y'all are saying about the curiosity and the creativity, right? Like that's so much of it as well. I'd rather someone be careful than care less,
Yeah.
I love that, Scylla, full of care, which actually takes you back to empowered consent, because if I am coming from a space where I am, what wants to come out is making sure that I am having care for the human I want to connect with, then I am actually in my body, in my own empowered consent, right? Do I even have consent to ask this? Do I want to, like, what's my purpose in asking? Like, it brings you back the space to come back here to then be full of care as I have a desire to connect with the human in front of me. And why would we want to connect with someone if we don't offer someone the ability to allow them to be who they are? Like, that's what's ringing through right now. this is for everyone. Why do we want to connect with someone if we really don't want to be in connection with the wholeness of who they are?
Right.
Well, for me, this is not only just my own self and desire for connection and intimacy and closeness and all of the above, but it's social justice, it's political, it's sacred, it's spiritual. So this loving and care and curiosity and celebration of each person's unique and gorgeous expression is deeply sacred to me and important to me to practice it so that I see the change that represents how I want the world to be in a way that feels right to me, my purpose. So I practice it.
Great. So everyone watching, rewind and listen to that.
Yeah.
Because that was really like, wow, if all the humans could act like that. Right? Not necessarily like, oh, Christina, let's put on Christina on a pedestal. It's not about that. It's around, wow. Wow. Can I see the beauty and good in all the humans? Can I have a desire to connect? That feels, we don't generally, that I don't know, that felt really powerful for me to hear. And I really wanted everyone to rewind and hear it again, because maybe, I guess, I don't feel like I see people acting that way. Probably me included. Like, that was beautiful for me to hear. Thank you.
Welcome.
I mean, I don't even know if I treat myself like that sometimes.
It's harder for me than others. But that's the practice.
Yeah, practice.
And that's exactly it. It's just like, it's a practice, right? Like, please be gentle with yourselves, viewers, and even the three of you who are here with me. Like, and I say this to myself all the time, just please be gentle with yourself. As has been said, like, we're gonna fuck up. That has to be okay. And then we just have to be willing to like learn from it and move through it. So it's a practice, you can't expect us to, life isn't about like light switches, right? We can't just like flip the switch and like suddenly just know everything and do everything perfectly, right? Like it's a process, it's a practice. Yeah.
And that getting to mess up, get that ability to stumble and trip on the path, on the journey, to me creates it being perfect. When we can reset that those things that used to be mistakes are actually, doors open to more expansion, that we welcome them in more and allow ourselves to keep moving forward. And that's what does this exploration of gender identity and empowered consent offer us? When we talk about creating consent and how we approach each others and navigating emotional responses and all of that, which is all yummy and juicy and good, but what does it offer?
Ooh, me. Total fucking freedom.
Freedom.
It's like, I don't have to identify with all those social constructs that tell me how to be a man anymore. I can be and do absolutely anything. Oh, what? All right. And I didn't realize how much that held me down and held me back until I started to taste it and be free of it. Yeah, it's an infinity of possibilities that I didn't even know was available when I used to think that there was an infinity of possibilities. It's like, whoa, more infinity? Yes. I like it big.
I like it. So what does freedom offer you then? If you're free from that constriction of those social identities, those boxes, what does that freedom offer you?
Let me tell you in a body sensation.
Ah, I love it.
For me, that particular freedom is like if there was chain mail that was enmeshed underneath my skin that I've been carrying around my whole life. I took that off. And so now, let's see, I have been the guy that always wants to be in the circle with all of the women, witch covens. And, I'm the one that shows up that has the cock in, a room full of 200 other vulva-bodied humans. And so here I am in this space. And now I sit in a similar space and I feel like I belong more. It's like I get to belong in humanity in more places.
Yeah.
That fit true to you.
That feel true to me.
For your internal, for who you are.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's about me. Of course, in that space, my ability to belong or not to belong and leaving gender behind allows me to belong in so many more places if I choose to.
Yeah. Sometimes that can feel very healing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm also just feeling into, freedom to play, freedom to dance, freedom to experience joy and pleasure and, right, like abundant creativity. It's like, oh, I don't have to play by anyone else's rules. I can like create the life that I want to create. Whoa, like what? That's amazing. That's amazing.
And for me, it got really constricting because when I let go of it, I was like, well, who am I then? Like, what do I wear? What do I do? Who am I? Like, how do I show up? And so in the space of exploration, it can also be really like so freeing that you're like, whoa, I don't know anything anymore. And so for some people, it's like, oh my gosh, yes, fun and play. And for some other people like me, sometimes it's like, oh my gosh. So it feels stagnant because maybe there's some fear to like put the red paint on the blank canvas, right? So there can be baby steps in, and there can be like, and this is fluidity. This is where like I wasn't taught that I could have it a different way, So this idea that we can explore and it not have to like mean anything has been really powerful for me on my own personal journey. And then also with beautiful humans that I get to work with and play with in the world to to expand. And there are times that I feel the freedom that these two have, and there's still times that, people put me in a box so often that I feel like, oh, sometimes it's just easier just be in the box. Right? And then sometimes it feels so free to be like, oh my gosh, they're putting me in the box. That's so cute. That's so cute. Okay, cool. That's fine. So it's different for all the humans. We all have different journeys. And what might feel like freedom to one might feel like absolute terror and constriction to another on the inside, but also there's a sense of freedom also. So it's such a, it's a different journey for everyone who's on the journey.
Really appreciate that, Gigi.
Yeah, thank you. Me too. And I really just want to echo that and reaffirm just the reality that like different things, different days, exactly what you're speaking to, right? And while now here today, I feel this like really cool freedom and curiosity and playfulness with my gender. That has certainly not always been the case. It has taken a lot of like painstaking and arduous work to get to this place of like, whew, you know, and like not knowing where I belong or where I, you know, like just feeling so isolated and so alone. And I've been really blessed and fortunate to find other people who, you know, have invited me to get to this place of here and now where I do feel more free to play than I probably ever have. And again, it's been like years of work. Different things, different days, different people. Thank you for speaking to that, Gigi.
Which I believe comes full circle to practice.
That's it.
Because we practice in learning about other humans. We practice in maybe stretching. We practice in maybe, you know, watching this video again and allowing our mind to be disruptive, to be like, what is Ephraim talking about? Let go of social constructs. We can't do that. You know, like practicing literally getting out little flashcards and practicing they, them, fey, fair pronouns. Like, so it's more in our DNA. So it's not disruptive. It's living in the practice, a daily practice of practicing.
And as is empowered consent.
Yes.
As is, I would say, anything that we are trying to create shift in our lives. I practice because living the way I live is a sacred journey to me. So I'm practicing, and yet that doesn't mean I'm always in some like Zen masters. I don't have it all the way. I still have critical self-thinking. I still have mind spin. I still have moments where I want to just hide. And yet the practices that I do have brought me to a place that when that happens, I have tools to take sovereignty. So it doesn't rule me, right? And that's what these practices can do for us. So those of you watching, success, you get to define what it means to you. I don't want to define it for you, but success for me in my practices with myself means that ownership. It doesn't mean I never have certain thoughts. It doesn't mean I don't experience life in ways that quote unquote are negative. It means I have the choice when I do have that experience of what to do with it. And that's what empowered consent is for me as a practice. It's the awareness. I call it access. Awareness gives you the choice to create consent and express it in a way that gives you the success that you need. What else is important here? As we come to the last 10 minutes of our consent conversation today.
I was thinking about consent and the beauty of it's really, you get to ask the question, who are you? And what do you desire? This is who I am, and this is what I desire. Can we play? And when you bust the more social constructs like gender that we bust apart, the bigger the playground is. It's like, well, let's go play over there at those weird monkey bars.
I like the weird monkey bars.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, oh my goodness, talking about playgrounds, Scylla, did you have a little bit of an embodiment you wanted to lead us through or play together in? And this is, and if you desire to.
Yeah, I'm feeling into that right now. I'm actually feeling a no in my body right now, just because being aware of the time and where we are right now. Yeah, I don't think so. Not right here and now anyway, but something that maybe I'll just invite y'all to just kind of sit with and feel into outside of this container is just like ask yourself that question, like, what is my relationship to my gender?
Mhm.
Have you ever even thought about that question, right? Like what is your relationship to your gender? Where does that land in your body? Yeah, and then like so much, I will also share so much of the workshop that I'm going to be facilitating, Gender as a Playground, is about re-inviting playfulness in the way that we show up in this world, right? To the best of our ability, recognizing safety and, privilege and all of these, time and place, all of these myriad layers and facets. But where can we find some of that childlike playfulness? And what do I mean by playfulness? Like permission and pleasure, right? Like, can we give ourselves permission to be in pleasure? And can you give yourself permission to be in pleasure with regard to your gender identity, your gender expression? Can you be a man with a beard and like a glittery eyelid? Like, does that feel good for you? Like, just so I guess that would be kind of the long and short of where I want to really just land with the people who are watching along is, just give yourself permission to get really curious with yourself, with other people. And yeah, just really, really wanting to drive home that, like, make no assumptions. My mind is going even explicitly to partners with whom I've had sex, and some people just like kind of start going for it. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But like the best sex in the world is when people are like, hey, Scylla, how do you even like to have sex? It's like, that is a great question. Thank you so much for asking. Let's talk about that, and then let's explore that together. Like, how do you like to have sex, right? Like, it's a really kind of a fun game. But I remember the first time I was asked that and I was just like blown away. Powerful. Make no assumptions, get really curious, get to know yourself. You're worth it.
And I want to say though, even though I would have loved to have done whatever you were thinking of bringing, I'm actually happy that you gave us a no.
Oh yeah, I wanted to celebrate you on your no. Thank you so much.
Yay for giving the no, because that's what you felt, and I love it.
Thank you.
And I fully intend to be at that Gender as a Playground workshop at the Virtual Intimacy Retreat, by the way. So if any of you want to join that, Scylla's going to give us, Scylla's going to give us a lot more information in a few minutes about that, for sure. So, I had a great question in my mind. Tools. What are your favorite practices for taking ownership of your choice or exploring your choice? Go ahead.
Also, I'm going to feel into that, but I'm also just going to turn on some more lights. It's getting awfully dark here in my little apartment.
I'm going to point you all that are watching. I'd love to hear you, Gigi. I'm just going to point everyone to last week's InPowered Consent conversation with Betty Martin and Leah Newman and Dee Dee Haig, because we did some really great practices on the dyad, and we also did a yummy I want practice with Betty Martin. That was super yummy and delicious. And I point you there because I find sometimes I don't even know what choice or what I want until I start vocalizing it or writing it, really exploring it deeper. So I'm going to point everyone there. Gigi.
I think one of my tools, which I don't know if it's a tool, but it's a way, is just permission. I think that oftentimes we're not given permission to unlearn everything we've learned so we can learn something new. And so when it comes to gender identity and exploration, acceptance, education, are you willing to unlearn everything you've learned so you can learn something new? Are you willing to give yourself permission So permission to feel, be, know, see differently. So it's not like a tool per se, it's more of a way of being, of what's possible if I gave myself permission to think this thought. What's possible if I give myself permission to watch this YouTube video to educate myself? What's possible if I gave myself permission to try that on for a day? That'd be my tool.
I think it's an amazing tool. I'm going to put that in my toolbox.
Yay.
Right there.
I think I've got a couple. One is I love what Gigi just said about try it on for a day. And you can even try it on for 5 minutes. Like really set a timer so that your whole essence knows that this is only going to last for 5 minutes. And then choose something, pretend something like, what if I was genderless? And just exist in that for 5 minutes until the timer goes off and see what can happen. And you can do that with anything. What if I am actually not sitting on this space and that I'm floating in air for 5 minutes? I don't know, whatever it can be. But give your psyche, your identity, your social constructs room to like go away for 5 minutes. Promise them that you'll come back. I'll be back. I'll pick you all back up on the other side.
I like it. I really like safe, accessible practices sometimes when you make them small enough. The day feels small enough too, depending. But when you make them as small as feels really winnable to you, then you get to succeed at it instead of setting yourself up to fail at something, which is something that it's kind of an American practice. I think so. Let's rewire that and set ourselves up to rack up those wins and start succeeding. Like it. Thank you.
I think another tool is to know your body yes and your body no. And I want to talk about it in terms of food. I think about like, oh my gosh, what if there was a piece of cake in front of me? Chocolate, luscious cake.
That is the best face. Thank you so much for doing that face.
I think my mouth says no right now.
So that's a no. What if I really want that piece of cake and I'm on a diet? And I know I'm not supposed to eat that cake. How can I come to the place of, no, I'm not going to eat that cake, or yes, I am going to eat that cake and I'm going to enjoy every bite of it without all that in between second guessing? What does that feel like in your body to be yes and no? We saw the no. You might have felt the yes when I first said it.
Christina was a yes.
And then there might have been the part that sometimes comes in and is like, oh, not supposed to, and wrangling that around in your body to the point where you can fully not enjoy not eating the cake, or you can fully enjoy eating it. And playing with food, if you're worried about your diet, is a great way to do it. Eat it without guilt, or don't eat it. But find the yes or the no. And if you do, then what did it feel like when you were done? How can you move that one direction or the other? I love the body sensation of it. And I like food because it's such a body thing.
Food is really accessible for us to find a link to, I think.
I think it's really fun too, because our taste buds change. Well, in my story, in my head, our taste buds change all the time. So I'll often say, oh, my mouth likes that today, or my mouth doesn't like that today. So it's almost retraining my brain and my mouth and my body that it is fluid also. So the story in my head that I've never liked okra can go away because I can try it again and be delighted, like, oh, interesting. Like, to me, it's being disruptive almost with your brain in the practice of this practice with food, which is so accessible.
I want to point you all, watchers, viewers as well, if you want to get led through some really yummy embodiment practices of going in and feeling the yes, feeling the no. We go to the YouTube link. There's several of those. I've had several different guests in the past lead us through those, as well as what an empowered yes versus a contracted yes feels like, which is kind of, I think, what you were pointing to, Ephraim, with the I shouldn't, right? So what does it feel like when you say yes, but it didn't really resonate? Or what does it feel like when a yes feels fuck yes? Same with no and maybe. So go to that YouTube link if you want to get led through some more of those. Scylla, did you have any practices you wanted to bring forward?
Yeah, two that are coming to me. I personally am a big believer in the power of words of affirmation. I like all over my home just have like little like stickies or, you know, postcards or whatever, just, you know, little things like, you can, you will, I believe in you, right? So like I just regularly am telling myself that it's like, oh, right, I can, I will, I believe in me, right? Like, so I really believe in those simple tools of just affirming. And kind of with that, you know, specifically that one of like, I can and I will. I will invite y'all to just notice where in your body you feel or hear that story that you can't, or you won't, or you shouldn't, right? Especially as it pertains to gender, right? Like when I was a kiddo, I was taught that like boys don't play with dolls, or I can't wear makeup because whatever, right? And then as an adult, it was like, oh, actually, I can and I will. I'm the adult now, and so I get to decide, right? And that's the like going back to giving ourselves permission and kind of doing some of that reparenting. So just looking at that story of like, oh, I was told that I can't or I don't or I shouldn't. Return to sender is one of my favorite little like spells, prayers, mantras. Just like I wash my hands, return to sender. I never wanted that story. It was never mine to begin with. I can, I will. And that's that. Return to sender.
I love it. I love it. Affirmation words. I like to add to those a pause, a like putting a little yummy heart smile in, giving yourself like some feel good warmth when you say it. So your whole system, it's like it softens your system to absorb it more. When you put a little gratitude or a little yumminess, I like to call it a heart smile. When you create that inner smile and then say the words, really yummy.
Feel.
Well, anything else before we move on to our last segment here? This has been so good. I want to just thank David. You have been seriously writing all kinds of good engagement in the chat. And I'm sorry I haven't gotten to you, but I just love and appreciate you so much. And thank you for being engaged. Thank you all of you that have been sending love, hearts, thumbs up, lots of kisses, the entire forum. So glad you're here watching with us. Anything else came to you while I was saying my thank yous?
I think I just want to say one thing, and is I see a lot of shame when it comes to gender identity, and to I mean, it just goes back to Scylla, and I've said this a gajillion times: be sweet and take breaths and be patient. And this conversation is for everyone. So not just the people who are, this conversation is for everyone. This is a conversation for everyone, not necessarily I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just want you to know. I just feel like this conversation is for everyone. This
Yeah.
isn't just people who might be struggling in their identity. I feel like, or having different desires in their identity, or this conversation is for everyone to hear, and it's tender. So please be sweet and take lots of deep breaths and come back again and know that you're not alone, and that shame grows with silence and secrecy and judgment. And so I know that there are not possibly lots of places for a lot of people to go, but you're not alone, and there are people out there. And please, please, please reach out to be seen and be heard in any questions or anything that might be going on, because shame is real and it can be really destructive, but it can also be a really beautiful sacred space of nudging us to actually be and stand in the truth of who we are. So it's this beautiful tool. Shame is a beautiful tool of can be a beautiful tool of expansion when listened to. What do you need, baby? Shame, honey, what do you need? So I just wanted to speak to that, because this conversation is really for everyone in the way that we show up in the world.
Thank you. Yeah, this is for everyone.
Mhm.
Those that think that they don't need any exploration as well. It's for everybody.
Mhm.
Yeah. And make no assumptions.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that awareness offers us choice, awareness of shame, awareness of celebration, awareness of, today I'm celebrating, tomorrow I'm not. Today it's freedom. This evening it might be contraction and sadness. It's
Mhm.
all things. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, this is then where we get to now move into our resource roundtable, which is one of my favorite places, because I like to do everything I do upon the foundation of together we rise, right? So I want all of you to get to know what these beautiful beings are doing and how you can work with them, as well as myself. And so we're going to go into the resource roundtable, where everyone that wants to will tell you a little bit more about how you can work with them, because they have such juicy wisdom and playful practices that can be offered to you. So if you would like to stay for the resource roundtable and get a little bit more information, this is where we do give some offers. So you're free to step off and we will celebrate your choice to do so. Or you're free to stay with us and we will celebrate your choice to do that as well. All right. Who would like to start and let everybody know what you're up to and how people can work with you?
I'll go first. Just mostly because I'm doing a shame study right now, and I'm doing a shame
I
with
never would have guessed that.
queer, trans, and intersex humans. And so, so I'm looking for humans who feel like they would be willing to share their story with me and get some time with me, 90 to 120 minutes. You can find out a little application at blisscoach.com, BLISSCOACH.com. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm super excited to deepen my understanding of how I can share more around the sacredness of shame in the world. And so that's what I'm doing right now. And it feels really, really fun and yummy. And so you can find me there.
Thank you. Important work. And I believe you gave me blisscoach.com is in the description, right? That's the website. So you all go ahead and go to the description above and you can find a link to that to participate there.
Yeah, and that's complimentary for, I think I have about 20 more spaces left. So just, that's my, I'm giving back and also learning.
So good. And if Gigi, this is my assumption, so please clarify if it's not correct, that if people don't get in on those 20 spaces but want to leave their email with you to be involved, if you open it again or do further work around shame, they should do so?
Yes, and on my blisscoach.com, there's also a link for my free Facebook group, so you can get me there, and then other ways to find me. So I'm around. Just go there, and then you can come find me.
Thank you so much.
Cool. I'll jump in. I did not link my website here because it is like needing to be updated, something fierce. But if you'd like to stay in touch with me, feel free to follow me here on the Facebook, Drewsilla DC Tomasi, or on Instagram, Giraffe Magic, GIRAFFEMAGICK. Giraffe Magic is the magic that I work, because I am here to help y'all take up your space in this world. You know, giraffes are so unapologetic and just so statuesque and also kind of clumsy and weird, and they have these big ass hearts, and they're just so like community oriented, and I want to help y'all step into that positionality as well. So I do that through queer education, through my poetry and spoken word, through relationship, sex, and intimacy coaching. And one thing that I've been really excited about lately is recently founded the Queer Church of Witchcraft and Whimsy. We meet every Thursday night, and this is a space to queer our idea of church and to like reclaim our spiritual selves within these human forms, and just get together and just kind of chat and sing and pray and just figure out what it means to be a spiritual being in 2021 in these human bodies. And it's a really exciting, really beautiful space. So feel free to connect with me here on the Facebooks, and would love to connect with any and all of you to help you get to know yourself better and own who you are a little bit more.
Thank you. And everybody watching, Scylla's IG and Facebook links are in the description above. I just double checked that. And you are doing that gender as a playground at the virtual intimacy retreat, is that correct?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So next Saturday on the 16th, gender as a playground, just figuring out how we can find more playfulness and freedom and let go of some of these stories around, you know, am I womaning correctly, or am I man enough, or, you know, letting go of some of the can'ts and shoulds and don'ts, and finding some freedom to be whoever the heck you want to be, you know, as you're able. And maybe that means only at home by yourself. Maybe that means in the world at large, whatever that might mean for you. Come and figure it out.
Yum, do you want to put the link to that in the chat, Drewsilla?
I absolutely do that. Yeah, I can absolutely put my personal link. So if you want to support me in my work, you can buy a ticket through a link. I can put that in the chat as soon as we close up here.
Sounds great.
Thank you, Christina.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, everybody. The virtual intimacy retreat.
So great.
Yes. Ephraim.
I love to help people help you. I would love to help you expand into this place where you are literally making love with your life, where you understand and feel the actual ecstatic, orgasmic nature of your existence. That's what I love to do. And I wrote something called One Breath to Pleasure, which to me, it felt like this was the tool to start with that I wanted to give away on this path of becoming ecstatic with everything. And you can find that at onebreathtopleasure.com.
Thank you. And I think that's the link that you gave me. Is that right? That the website you gave me is in the description above as well, or if it's not, the website you gave me can bring people there. Is that correct?
Yes.
Fantastic. And Ephraim will be reading one of their poems at the end of this conversation as well. So what I'm up to for all of you, because if you all have been watching my Empowered Consent conversations, it has almost been a year that I've been doing that now.
Congratulations.
Woo-hoo!
Celebrating you.
Right? And so I know a lot of people are seeing a lot happening here, a lot being talked about, and I want to bring you some actual time together where we can dive into that awareness piece, those choices, how to create consent, how to express yourself, putting support systems into place. So I will be Thursday evening at the virtual intimacy retreat doing an hour and a half workshop there where you can come and we will hands-on be going over a lot of this stuff together. And the link to that is in the description above if you want to attend that, as well as if you go to the virtual intimacy retreat, they have an amazing virtual swag bag, y'all. And in that bag, you will get a 30% off discount to my course Speak Desire that is launching at the end of the month. And that is a 6-week course, extended, learning how to speak your needs intimately, to get heard and understood and fed.
Yay.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
I mean, lots of good stuff. So I am deeply honored and appreciative to have been spending this gorgeous time with all of you amazing people. Both those viewing and those here in this conversation with me. And as you all know, I end with a poem, but today Ephraim is going to do that poem. Does this feel like a good time for you, Ephraim, to read your poem now?
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Here's my book, Making Love with This.
You can find it on Amazon.
Perfect.
I wanted to give everyone a little guide for their day. This is called Before Climax. In the morning, connect. The softness of you, the silence, the pulsing flow of your blood and loving touch of your fingers, the sex of you. Delicious sensuality in a slow, warm stir calling you to life, rising up your body. This call of the wild, you answer with your breath. Savor through your body, turned on, but not chasing, not climaxing. And then you do the dishes, make breakfast, shower, work, create, eat, and do the dishes again all day, breathing, your body alive, your eyes bright, your soul ecstatic.
Gorgeous. Mwah. Yum. Would you mind putting a link to that book in the chat afterwards as well?
I would be happy to.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you all. Thank you everyone for watching. Next week, I'm joined on Sunday to talk about empowered consent and body language, reading the cues. So join us at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for that. Have a gorgeous, beautiful, empowered, pleasure-filled day.
Thank you.